Welcome back to Word and Work, an Intersection. I'm your host, Dale Meyer. Today our guest is Dr. Mart Thompson, who is Associate Professor of Practical Theology and Director of the Specific Ministry Program. He has also recently become Faculty Advisor to the Life Team at Concordia Seminary. Our professors are busy. You're busy. Tell us what the Life Team is.
The Life Team is really a student-led and a student organization that prays, that plans, that engages our seminary community in life-affirming, gospel-centered activities. So we want to find ways in our culture, and some people have at times called this a culture of death, right, that we live in today, because life is not always held up as this gift from God that it is. And that has kind of seeped into the lives of people in our culture. And we want to affirm the gift of life from those who are preborn, before birth, after conception, before birth, up until the very end of life. So our Life Team is here to raise awareness for students. I was just talking to a student the other day from a rural Midwestern area who's now very involved in our Life Team, said, I wasn't really aware of these things where I was at because it wasn't really talked about there. Mm-hmm. And to some of us who've lived in, maybe larger cities, it's a little bit of a wake-up call to me to say, oh, we do need to get this word out because these are real issues that our students will be facing and their members will be facing out in congregations.
So this is not a course, but it is a club?
Yeah, that might be a good way to say it.
It's not a course, it doesn't give credit, but club sounds too clubby, but it's a volunteer
It's a volunteer organization. And one of the things that I also teach here are pedagogical or teaching classes, how to teach pastors how to teach. And from my background in that, I see this as very much still formation of our seminary students and their families. In fact, as a practical theologian, the Life Team materials that we share with students when we train them on how to be a part of the Life Team are great for pastors to use in any kind of committee or board or group within the church that is serving a particular emphasis of ministry. The strategies that we teach them here, they can translate that into all sorts of different ways to enhance parish ministry, especially in equipping lay people, because the Life Team is designed to be lay run. Pastors have a lot to do. We learn in the book of Acts that it's important for them to devote their time to pastoral ministry, the Word of God and prayer. A lot of practical hands-on stuff as well. But if they try to do all of the hands-on stuff, then those things will be neglected and so will the ministry. Well, we know that with Life Teams, and so it's built in a way that we have lay people very involved, and we teach pastors or students training to be pastors how to use these resources in their congregation.
You said we teach. Your wife Cheryl is involved?
Yeah, she is.
Tell us about Cheryl and her involvement with the Life Team.
Okay, thank you for asking. Yeah, she's kind of the driving force here for me. I've always been passionate about this, but not as passionate as she has. Cheryl's a licensed professional counselor, and she has her own private practice, a Christian counseling private practice. And there in her, she calls it Concord Counseling, there in her practice, she deals with people who are struggling with life issues. Like, for example, it may be someone who is what we call post-abortive. They're dealing with the guilt of having had an abortion or multiple abortions. And she has been involved and interested in this even before she became a certified counselor. Way back in our first parish that I mentioned in the first segment in Minnesota, she was a counselor for birthright and worked with young ladies who were pregnant and who were contemplating the best way to go forward. And she got involved there. And then over the years in the congregations where we've served, she's been involved in different life ministry activities. But we were drawn to this in part because of another seminary couple, Dr. Jeff Gibbs and his wife Renee, who were kind of the founders of the life team here at the seminary. We were drawn to it because they helped us see that there's a way to organize this in congregations that we were never aware of. Because it's a new concept. And if you would like, I'd love to tell you the story about how the life team concept was given birth here at Concordia Seminary and is now used all over the country.
I'd love to hear that. And while your mind is getting ready to do that for us, one of the things that I've appreciated about the life team here at the campus is that it's not just against abortion. And I think that singular emphasis, and we're certainly not for abortion, but right. That singular emphasis can turn off some people. What I have come to like, it is literally about life.
Mm-hmm. Actually, right.
Life. And one of the things that you all do is a yearly service for those who have lost a child through miscarriage, stillborn. Whoa, that no kidding, that is the most powerful service of the year. Mm-hmm. And mea culpa, when I went through the seminary, we were not sensitized to that. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So the fact that this is affirming life from before the cradle, from conception to the grave, is just wonderful, and it's such a great group. So now tell us, how did it get started here, and how has it spread through the country?
Okay. Thank you for pointing that out, too. And we'll return to that, if you will, because
Sure.
I'd like to talk about our bullseye image where we talk about affirming life in different ways here. Well, about 10 years ago, Renee Gibbs, who had been involved in life-affirming activities on campus since probably the 90s, okay? She happened to be down at the local Planned Parenthood, which is 3 blocks from where Cheryl and I live, so we drive by that all the time.
Do you know, forgive me audience, my milk truck is being restored just a few doors away from there.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. It's a more pleasant topic to think about. Yeah. Well, Renee was down there praying and doing what we call sidewalk counseling, if people wanted to talk, who were coming to consider what to do, if they had a pregnancy that they were wondering about how they could be directed. And she met a local pastor there, and they got to talking, and it led to this idea that it would be great if there was some kind of a structure that could be used in congregations with lay people, as I referred to before, to facilitate more of these life-affirming activities. And out of that initial meeting on the sidewalk at Planned Parenthood in St. Louis was born this idea of a life team, and this pastor went on and did a lot of developmental work. And he then sought to introduce it to some churches, and they were not sure that they were ready for that, but they introduced it here at Concordia Seminary instead and started a life team at Concordia Seminary. And after that, it was so successful that it started to be used by a group in St. Louis called Churches for Life, which goes around and tries to start life teams in Lutheran churches and in any church that will be in the life-affirming community. And then later on, Lutherans for Life, a national organization, received the materials and further developed them into training modules that then are used to start life teams all over the country, and it's become a major part of the work of Lutherans for Life. And that's the history.
Wow, that's impressive. I guess I must have been in the president's office pushing papers. I didn't realize that. I do know, just at a very personal level, that I mentioned that one special service each year, but it often happens that we walk out of chapel and the life team is passing out a flyer about this, that, or whatever is coming up. And just that is a tremendous witness to me, and I'm sure to all of us who worship at chapel. So yeah, this is great. So tell us about some of the things that the Life Team does. I mentioned that one service, but what else?
So we think of it in terms, I mentioned before, of a kind of a bullseye or concentric circles. So at the center are things like end of life issues. Sometimes we call mercy killing or euthanasia, bad term probably, abortion, those kinds of things. And we're certainly concerned to protect and to help heal people that have suffered in that area. And that is always a big part of what we do. But as you go out from there, there are other things that are part of the gift of life that we really focus on as well. And some of those might be adoption, which helps to support life, or hospice care, end of life issues, or the dealing with sexual purity. You'd mentioned miscarriage before. Mental health issues. One of the ways we help to sensitize the students here to those needs is we'll have a mental health panel where we'll have counselors come in and talk about how to work with people who are struggling in that way. There's a variety of different things, and the students at the beginning of the year, in fact at our next meeting, we meet on the second Saturday of the month, and at the next meeting will be the time where we take this list that they came up with at the last meeting and prioritize that and determine what will be our emphases for this year. Now, of course, the miscarriage service will be there. It's always there because I think it's the most popular chapel service on campus. And I will add to that, a lot of the students who have experienced that go on and use that as a template and take it out into their parishes and do the same thing in their churches. And which really gets at kind of the purpose of our Life Team here. Yes, we want to affirm life in all of these ways. We want to touch faculty, staff, and students. But we want to equip students so that they can go out into their ministries, either as a deaconess or as a pastor, and enhance this ministry there, this affirmation of life.
This is obviously open to the seminary community. Does it go beyond that?
It does. It goes beyond it in kind of the way I mentioned before, especially when these students disperse out as they receive their calls, and so it serves in that way. But we've had people who will come for our events from local congregations. They can even come and be part of the team if they want to hang out with these awesome seminary students. And we've had some that are starting a Life Team and will come and observe our Life Team and see how it works.
Don't you often meet on Saturday mornings?
Yeah, Saturday evenings.
Saturday evenings, yeah. Okay, so it's doable.
It's doable. And we feed you.
Oh, there you
and
go.
We provide childcare. So the single students really love it because that's one of the times that the dining hall isn't open. So we know they're there just for Life Team, but they don't mind getting fed at
whatever it takes. Whatever it takes.
That's right. So no, it's very practical and very positive vibe and a very supportive community.
If a person wanted to join one of your events, attend one of your events, because I don't think this is something you actually join and sign on the dotted line, but to attend one of the events, how can that person learn? Okay,
great question. So our Facebook page, if you just look for Concordia Seminary Life Team on Facebook, we have a lot of pictures and information. We put things in the daily announcements here at Concordia Seminary. And then on the seminary website, they actually gave us a page on the official CSL website where you can learn about the Life Team and get contact information for myself or our current student leaders, and we'll be happy to share any information we can with you.
Thank you. What are some of the resources that you have available for the church at large?
Well, in addition to the actual Life Team materials, which is now distributed through Lutherans for Life, we also have, you can access it on Facebook, testimonies of young people who have gone through miscarriages, students here, and they talk about the pain, and it becomes healing for people to see that. We connect with other local organizations. One that is extremely powerful here in St. Louis called the Coalition for Life. And a number of our seminary students and student wives have participated as sidewalk counselors, being trained by them and employed by them. We also have one of our deaconess students right now, well actually she maybe has completed the program, Rachel Hiley. She is kind of in the management now of this organization and working to support women who have chosen life but need extra help to make that work for them and their family. So our partners are a big source of support. But like I said, the Life Team materials, we're really focused on that. That is our goal in establishing life teams and then providing educational events here at the seminary. And we try to publicize those to area churches as well.
I think this is so wonderful. So let's say your congregation is without a pastor and you go through the processes and a graduate of Concordia Seminary is sent to serve you. And he comes in with this knowledge of the life team, how affirming that is, how he will be able to hold up in a positive way the message of life. I just think it's wonderful, and I thank you and Cheryl for doing it, just as we thank Jeff and Renee Gibbs for getting this thing going. It is a strong component of the culture of Concordia Seminary. So thanks, Dr. Thompson, for joining us today and sharing this insight about your work. And you are a busy professor, SMP director, and the advisor to the Life Team. This has been Word and Work, an Intersection. I'm Dale Meyer, and I thank you for joining us today. May the intersection of Word and Work really be busy on your corner.